The day Prime Minister Adel Abdul Mahdi submitted his resignation, crowds in Tahrir Square showed no intention of packing up and going home. Banners were still held high, doctors remained on standby to treat the wounded, and new street art sprang to life, depicting the aspirations of the protest movement. For many, the Prime Minister's departure is just the first, perhaps the easiest step on a long road towards change. They want Parliament dissolved and fresh elections to be held under a new election law.
The problem is not just the Prime Minister, it's not the Queen, it's a whole beehive. All of them have to resign. If the Prime Minister leaves, someone that's similar to him will replace him.
It's a fear that risks becoming a reality. In an emergency cabinet meeting, Abdul Mahdi said he would stay on as part of a caretaker government until Parliament chose his replacement.
There
is no doubt that the Council and its parties and members will oversee the finding of an appropriate solution as fast as possible, because the country in these circumstances cannot endure a caretaker government for a long time. So I want the Parliament to complete the procedures to appoint a new Prime Minister and government.
That process could take weeks, even months, and requires buy-in from local and foreign power brokers.
For
sure, the political parties are facing a difficult exam. They can't go back to the balance of power that used to be in place. They have to come up with an extraordinary government, which has to complete the process of passing a new election law that is agreed by the protesters.
But reforms won't bring the victims back, nor will they appease those who mourn them. As the death toll rises, demands for justice grow louder. HANAN ZUHAIR comes to Tahrir Square every week to pray for the victims. She doesn't just want Abdul Mahdi to leave, she wants his government to be held accountable.
Not just him, those who opened fire, those who gave the order. This is blood. This is the blood of the people of the youth. What's their guilt? They're bridegrooms and they go to the graves. Instead of celebrating their wedding, they're stained with blood. All those responsible for that bloodshed should be punished.
The government has promised to investigate the most recent violence, but as the focus shifts towards appointing a new prime minister, such promises risk being forgotten.
Demonstrators have welcomed Abdul Mahdi's offer to resign, but their joy is overshadowed by uncertainty over whether he will really leave and what will happen next. Without big changes to Iraq's electoral law, many fear that whoever succeeds him will simply carry on with what they see as the same failed political system. Simona, Foltyn, Al Jazeera, Baghdad.
BILAL WAHAB is an Iraq analyst at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy. He says the resignation of Mahdi puts the entire Iraqi political system in uncharted territory.
The resignation of the prime minister automatically means the resignation of the entire cabinet. And this is the first time that this happens in Iraq, so the legal ways forward are not necessarily clear. But one way or another, there has to be the president has to give mandate to a new person or a new bloc in parliament to form a new government. The prime minister in his resignation letter specifically said that Iraq needs a permanent government rather than a caretaker government, something that the street have requested the latter, a caretaker government that runs the affairs until new elections are in place for a new system to be in place. I mean, Adel Abdul Mahdi was the face of this lack of accountability in the Iraqi political system rather than the system itself. So he could easily be scapegoated. In fact, it's probably overdue for him to be leaving the scene, but this is not the end of the road. Grand Ayatollah Sistani has played a significant role in channeling the protest movement into a single ask of the political leadership and of the government, obviously in the absence of strong Iraqi state institutions on the one hand, and also in the absence of organized civil society, the inability of the populist and public protest movement into being translated into a specific ask. Grand Ayatollah Sistani has played that. Again, referring back to Adel Abdul Mahdi's resignation letter, he doesn't say in response to the protesters, but specifically says in response to the call by Grand Ayatollah Sistani.